Okay, so now one of the things that you notice is we don't have a very big stage area. It's not very big at all, and that's because of just the cameras and the angles and things, but we can certainly make it work. So we have our stage, we have our one little guy here, and let's go ahead and take our first picture. Well, no, actually I'm going to take him off stage. I'm going to just take him so we don't see him, and I'm going to take my first picture with no characters on there whatsoever. Okay, now I'm going to grab him and start to move him in. Now, do you see how we just barely see his head? Make sure my hand is out of the way, and I take a picture. That's why I take this hand and I kind of just put it on my lap here. So I'm animating only actually with one hand, and that makes sure that I don't get a picture of my hand. Okay, now, do you see, it's called onion skinning, but do you see how it's kind of like a little ghost of him where he used to be, and then I've moved him to here now. Take a picture. Okay, so I can just see that he's starting to come in here, and I'm just moving a little bit at a time. Do you see it's like I'm almost using his head as a measuring thing, and I'm just moving it one head measurement at a time. And then I'm going to start to turn him slightly towards the camera. Okay, and move him just a little bit more like that. And then now finish turning him right, so now he's looking right at the camera, and there we have him. He's kind of walked in and he's turned towards the camera. So let's go ahead and press play, and we can watch it. Okay, so he's walking in and turning towards the camera. Do you see that? Okay, let me go ahead and press pause. Make sure that you advance to the last frame because you don't want to start adding frames in the middle of your little movie you're making. So I'm going to go make sure I'm on the last frame. And now I can do some things. So one of the things you need to, I guess, understand from animations, you've already learned a couple lessons here. And that is, as you move it and take a picture, it will, when you play it back, it makes it look like movement. One of the really, really important things is that you never move your camera, or in this case, it's the iPad. You never want to start to grab this and move it one way or the other, because then when we see that, it'll just make it look really bad. So you want to make sure, I'm just pressing lightly. I don't want to shift anything because I don't want this guy to move anywhere in here. I want it to always stay in the same place throughout my whole movie, okay? So now, another thing you need to learn from animation is that the smaller the movement, so if I just move him just slightly, I'm going to just spin him around so I can see I've just barely moved him a little bit. The smaller the movement, the slower your character moves when you play it back. Okay, so those both start with S. Smaller, slower. So I'm just going to move them just slowly around here. So I can just see, I'm using kind of his hand as a measurement. I just move a little bit, so I'm just barely moving his hand. Oops, I moved the set there. Okay. Is his name Emmett? Does that sound familiar? Is it Emmett that I'm animating here? Okay, so I'm just moving, I can just move it one little hand length at a time. And we're almost back around. Do you see how many pictures I'm taking here? I'm on 18 pictures so far for my movie. And I can use the little ghosted image to make sure, like if I was to suddenly move them over here, I'm like, oh, that's in the wrong place. So I can just take them back, line it up, and of course move them a little bit. So that's why it's really helpful. That's what this thing controlled over here at the very beginning. Okay, so he's facing the camera again. So now if we play it, he walks on and he spins around ever so slowly, okay? So that's what we want to learn in this one. In the next one, we're going to talk about how to make him do it fast.